everyone, it is a barn burner out here today in Chicago, but we're gonna flash back to the winter when I made this concrete wing table. This project started in December 2018. I opened up my email and was shocked to see an email from one of my favorite magazines, Popular Woodworking. They asked me if I would write an article on one of my projects, and I immediately hit yes before they could change their mind. And this project is what came out of it. If you want to check out the written article, it's in the June issue of Popular Woodworking. There should still be some on newsstands where you can backorder from their website. Only place you probably can't get it is St. Louis, Missouri, because I think my mom bought just about every issue from St. Louis, but anywhere else you should be good. And without further ado, let's get into the build.
They said that they wanted me to introduce glass fiber reinforced concrete to woodworkers. The only suggestion they had is they didn't want square and boring. They wanted something angular. So I went into SketchUp with the general idea to do a wing-shaped table with an angled waterfall and an aggressively angled walnut leg. I played around with a few different design layouts and ultimately decided on this one. Since we pour the concrete upside down, the waterfall base needs to support the weight of the concrete during the pour, so I cut triangular support pieces from scrap melamine. The support pieces don't need to be pretty, so pocket hole screws will work well to secure them to the base. I then used a straight edge to align the triangular supports and hot glued them to the base. With the hot glue holding the supports in place, I could go back with the pocket hole screws and attach them. There are two main approaches to building a melamine form for concrete. The first is cutting the base of the form to the exact shape of your final piece. The second approach is using a base sheet that is larger than what you're making and gluing the edges of the form on top of the base in the desired shape. I like this approach for projects with complex shapes like this one, since it allows you to sketch the desired shape directly onto the melamine base with a dry erase marker and then cut the side pieces to fit as you lay them out around the sketch.
So the form's all assembled, and it was a little tricky to get everything flushed up in these corners because there was three angles in this way, in this way, and in this way. So what I did is I cut two of them at the miter saw with a compound angle of 15 and 30, and then I just tilted this piece in and threw some shims under it and hot glued it in. And I wasn't sure if it was really gonna work, but it did. It was the first time trying this. It's pretty darn sturdy. It's gonna easily hold up to the amount of pressure during the pour. So let's caulk the form and then we'll pour some concrete.
And now it's time for another episode of Caulk Talk, which is the same as every episode of Caulk Talk. I apply a layer of paste wax to the melamine, lay down a generous layer of 100% silicone caulk, run a metal fondant ball tool over all the caulk lines. Metal fondant ball tool pushes excess caulk to the sides, leaves a clean line over the seam, and the layer of paste wax makes it easy to peel the excess caulk away once it cures, leaving a perfect caulk line. And that's it for this episode of Caulk Talk. While the combo of hot glue and caulk is usually enough to hold the sides of the form in place, I made a last minute decision and came back to give myself insurance by screwing a few support blocks against the longer side walls. Before mixing the concrete, I covered the table with plastic. I didn't cover up enough of the shop though, and I ended up with concrete everywhere on everything, which is why you've seen the full dextrification of the shop in my past couple videos, which were, by the way, recorded after this. I also cut an alkali-resistant glass mesh that we'll be placing between the layers of concrete for added strength. This is the same alkali-resistant fiber that is actually in the concrete mix.
I've got everything measured out for the pour, and I measured everything by weight, just using a cheap postage scale that you can get from Amazon. Measuring everything out by weight beforehand according to the GFRC recipes just alleviates a ton of stress, because once you're going and mixing the concrete, it's curing, it's go, 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 and having this all set out so you don't have to worry about trying to get the numbers or adding the right amount of water when you're mixing just makes everything go way more smoothly.
To get a cleaner surface right out of the form, I'm using the two-part process where the form is first sprayed with a thin layer of the GFRC mix without any glass fibers in it before applying backer layers of the GFRC mix with the glass fibers for strength. I've explained this whole process in my past videos, so this time I'll change it up and explain some things that I've improved in subsequent projects. Subsequent projects? Well, let's back up a second. Some of you might have noticed that my shop looks different than it has the last couple videos. This project was completed back in January before I overhauled my shop. I held this video so Popular Woodworking could release the written article first, so the Arctic erosion table from last month's video was actually made after this one. And why do I mention that? Because I corrected a number of mistakes when I made the Arctic erosion table. For this table, I packed the first back coat way too thick. It should have been 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch at most, and because it was too thick, it took forever to cure. So long, in fact, that I got impatient and packed in the second layer too early, so I'm compounding mistakes here. It was slump city. I don't have much footage of this because I was in panic mode trying to create a makeshift back form from scrap melamine to stop the slumping. If you want to see the correct way to pack verticals by hand, in many thin layers with proper setup time, go check out the Arctic erosion table vid after this. Taking a concrete project out of the form is like Christmas morning for makers. In many cases, GFRC can be removed from the form after 24 hours. However, it was 60 degrees in my shop when this was filmed, so I waited 48 hours to be safe. The concrete cures much slower at colder temperatures. Before demolding, I took the opportunity to grind down the underside of the table with an angle grinder. I used the sides of the form as a guide to grind to a consistent thickness. If you're wondering why you don't screed the back coat to avoid the grinding, it's because screeding GFRC is difficult and often does more harm than good. The glass fibers tend to catch on the screeding board, which makes it difficult to achieve a level surface and can sometimes pull the face coat away from the edges of the form. It's also worth noting that the amount of grinding was amplified for this table because of my impatience and the slumping when packing the concrete back layers. If you'd done it right, it really wouldn't have been that bad. After demolding, I did one slurry coat to patch up some places on the vertical surfaces where the slumping resulted in rough patches. The slurry coat is just the same GFRC mix as the face coat wiped in by hand. I let that cure overnight, then came back to wet sand with 400 grit mesh sanding discs. You don't need to sand too long, just until you feel the micro texture of the melamine disappear under your hand. After sanding, I applied a couple coats of concrete sealer with a clean microfiber cloth. And then it was time to make the legs. I decided on a rhombus-shaped base with the four sides of the rhombus cut from a single piece of walnut lumber. In case you're wondering, a rhombus is a parallelogram with opposite equal acute angles, opposite equal obtuse angles, and 4 equal sides. Don't worry, I had to look it up too. The rhombus slants at 30 degrees in the opposite direction of the 15-degree concrete leg. The sharper slant gives the table a more aggressive stance and dramatic look, but also looks intentionally asymmetrical because it's exactly double the angle of the waterfall leg. I selected a piece of walnut that was long enough to make the entire base from a single board. This allowed for a continuous grain pattern to wrap around the entire base. So after milling the boards, I labeled all the pieces and the miter angles so I didn't lose track of the order I needed for grain continuity when cutting the miters. To make the 60-degree cuts, I used a vertical cutting jig on my table saw. I then left the blade in the exact same position and used my miter gauge to make the 30-degree cuts from the other side of the table saw. And this will ensure the 4 joints will add up exactly to 360 degrees for a perfect 4-sided shape. Except it was actually far from perfect. Quite frankly, I was pushing the capabilities of my contractor table saw. Contractor saws are designed for framing and ripping 2x4s and have some play in the blade and fence for safety reasons. I literally spent an entire day trying to tune and adjust the saw and could not get the 60-degree cuts accurate. So I used this as an excuse to get the saw stop you've seen in my past few videos, and since the saw stop wasn't going to be delivered for a week, I used that as an excuse to buy a domino joiner so I could force the legs into place to make the rhomboid shape. Totally makes sense, right? The dominoes I had on hand were sized for 90-degree joints and too long for the 60-degree miter joints. However, it was relatively easy to shorten the dominoes with a hand saw so they'd fit. For the glue up, I used ratcheting band clamps to quickly get some pressure on the joints and then used any ankle clamping blocks with F clamps to apply proper pressure to the miter joints.
You guys know I like to share my mistakes, and I made one this time. When I was using the domino and it was the first time I ever used it, I had the depth stop set too deep at first and it initially went all the way through in one spot. So it looks pretty nasty, but I decided to keep going. I just used some wood glue and sawdust to kind of pack it in there, fill up that hole so it's a little more stable, and then I'm just going to use that side as the bottom of the base so that you don't see it. No big deal, we'll keep going.
Before applying the finish, I made a last-minute decision to give the legs a 45-degree chamfer. I set up my router table and carefully routed the chamfer on the outside edges. Personally, I like how the chamfer provides some separation between the ground and the table leg and lifts it off the ground to go with the wing theme. I then used a microfiber cloth to wipe on 2 coats of Maker brand Simple Finish. I let the finish dry overnight and used construction adhesive and Tapcon concrete screws to attach the legs to the base. And with that, we're done with this table.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this project. I'm pretty happy how it came out. If you did like it, make sure to hit the subscribe and bell button and hit the like button. So quick takeaway. I thought it was really interesting to go back to a project I did only 7 months ago, but to see how much I'd improved over the course of only a few projects with concrete. So next time you're in a rut in the shop and you're stuck, just remember it doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take all that long either. Just take a deep breath, relax, put your mind to it, and you'll get where you want to be. That's it for this time, and I'll see you next time.